So they might have been with, those spirits might have been with us for a very long time. The one thing I would caution people is not to get obsessed by it, not to get worried about it, because I think it feeds a paradigm of consciousness that we're moving away from.
Hello and welcome to our Sunday podcast, Holistic Spirituality. My name is Philipp Kobald. We are reaching out to people who are passionate about spreading light, love, and joy. I'm happy to have here today with me from, I think it's Australia, Catherine O'Connor. Hello, Catherine.
Hello, thank you. Thank you very much for introducing me and bringing me on. It's really a delight to be here. And one small correction is I'm from New Zealand. Is that close to Australia? That's where I'm from.
The second I spoke, I knew that something was wrong, but my mouth was quicker than my brain. I just had a podcast with a man from Australia, and that's how, because I wanted to introduce him from New Zealand, and that's how I got mixed up today. I'm so terribly
It's
sorry.
fine.
And New Zealand is so crazy beautiful. How can I mix it up? All right.
It's totally fine.
Okay. I'd like to start the podcast with a small introduction so that people get to know who you are and what you do. Just a small bio, a couple of minutes, and then we'll start with the questions and we'll take it from there.
Oh, you'd like me to introduce myself? I'm so sorry. I can see that this is real.
I don't even know New Zealand or Australia. Don't let me do it. It's gonna be a disaster.
British. Okay, all right. So I love this beginning. It's fantastic. I am, so I'm from New Zealand. I'm what I call a channel of light and love. So I work with divine beings. My primary access point is Toe, and we work together in co-creation to support individuals like yourself who are listening to come into a relationship with themselves, a divine relationship with themselves as divine, as who you truly are. Now, how that might look to you, how that might feel to you is going to be unique, but that's essentially what we're doing. And we're doing it through channeling, through some healing modalities, so there's a whole mixture of things, ways in which we do that. That's essentially what I do, and I call myself a channel or a sacred architect.
This is going to be a very interesting conversation. There are some people who are very familiar with the concept and they know precisely what you're talking about and how it all works. But there's like a lot of people who now go, and I think I would love very much to take the first quarter of this podcast, a little bit reaching out to people who don't really know what you do and how it works and how it all comes together. Give them a little chance with a couple of my crazy questions to make understand how does this actually work, and it will help a lot in going further and deeper into your experience, into your connection, and also your personal transition and your personal growth with this talent. Should I call it would you call it a talent or a gift? What would be the right terminology? What would you call what you have?
I think that's weird, and it's a really good place to start because I don't feel like I have anything. I think that's weird, and it's a really good place to start because I don't feel like I have anything. It's more that I've opened myself through my life, really, to receiving the light and love of essentially, gosh, just trying to think, like I call it maybe Christ consciousness or the divine. I'm trying to kind of feel very new to all this work. You could think of it as open myself to myself. I've come to know myself at a really deep level. I've done that through a lot of different ways, and we could talk about that. And it's through that process of coming to really know myself that I've opened up an access point myself to these, what we call higher beings. So you're all divine beings. When we're in form, so when we're a person on the Earth star, taken on a physical form, we're still a divine being. So we still have a kind of divine light or a soul inside of ourselves. Beings of light that perhaps that I work with don't have a physical body at the moment. They are what we call are residing in the light realms. And because
Right.
the question,
Let's take it a bit slow. We want to go there, but take a step back. Let's just
Okay.
slowly tune it in. first thing that I would like to know, this gift, let's call it a gift. Can we
We
call it a
can call it a
gift?
gift. Yep,
Is that
yep,
okay for
yeah, no,
you?
that's fine.
Did you have that? I would like just stupid questions. Did you have that forever when you was a child, when it manifested, how it started? Because I think that's why I'm asking those crazy questions. I think a lot of people have that gift, but either suppress it, are scared of it, don't know what to do with it, are overwhelmed with it. So I want to very softly tune in your personal awakening towards this gift, your personal start in the real first moments when this happened, where you're scared, where just to get people a sense of how does it feel the first time being this connection, and give people understanding that nothing is scary, nothing is happening, to find the courage to maybe a little bit let it, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do know what you're talking about. I think it's different for everyone. Yeah, so we I mean, a lot of different ways, different territories that we can enter into. For me personally, I think I've always had it. So it's always been here in some form. It's certainly I was a channel in past lives, so I have that. But in this lifetime, I've always been very sensitive, very intuitive, very tuned in. Yeah, and I was brought up in a Catholic family, in a loving Catholic family, so to speak. My mother and father were into the more modern Catholicism, which came from that was talked about love being the essence. So I didn't have a lot of hellfire and brimstone, but I did see Jesus. I had a really strong connection with Jesus when I was really young. And I remember the first time that I guess I really had that feeling of just being woken up was when I was about 6. And I remember that really clearly. And for me, it was really simple. I was looking at a 5-cent piece, which in New Zealand, it's just like a little coin of money. And I really wanted it. And I stood there for a long time, for what felt like for a 5-year-old, for a long, maybe slightly older, maybe for a long, long time. And was going back and forwards in my mind, wanting to take it and knowing that was stealing, or that I shouldn't take it. I don't think I articulated stealing. And in the end, I walked away from it. And I remember something inside me changed. Something inside me shifted so profoundly that I felt like I was put on my path. And that was my choice for the rest of my life, was to actually stay with my truth, regardless. So that was my awakening. And I think that is really a big key. So I think many individuals, and it can happen at any time of your life, and I have various other awakenings, and realigned off my truth, and then onto my truth, and off my truth, and onto my truth. And but I think that is the key. It's when we hear the whispers of our soul, or whispers of what's really true for us, regardless of what we think we want or what society has said that is going to make us happy. For me, in that moment, it was thinking I wanted money, but it wasn't really what I wanted. I wanted to stay in integrity. I wanted to be in alignment with my actual truth. And taking money at that point didn't feel in alignment. So I think that is probably it is probably really challenging. It's really challenging in our society to listen to what feels really true for us, what's really in integrity, what is our soul or heart really wanting, and to listen to what feel just like whispers or faint murmurings. And that, yeah,
I I
that's the
I
essence of it. Yeah.
I hear a lot when people talk about all of this. Most of them were like doing this on your consciousness. They've really done it since they were kids. But with so many people, they have had those experiences as kids. There was part of their childish life, those spirits or those connections or a certain magical element in life. And then for school and all of it, it's just been wiped out of the system. And now as grown-ups, it might want to reemerge. It might want to be reawakened, but people are really scared of having these supernatural elements, or most of us were just not in connection with ourselves and we don't listen at all. And so there's the vast majority is so disconnected that this is not an option. But for those who are trying to reach inside, when these things awaken, we're very scared of this. would you comment on that? Is there a reason to be scared, or can it be scary? Or I hear that people suddenly the room getting cold. That's what I heard a lot. That when the spirits emerge, that there's a shift in room, and also some people start to see things. That's, I don't know. Somebody said to me, like, there's a parrot sitting on the bed beside of them, and they get really scared. So can you a little bit comment on these things?
Yeah. So my first comment is yes, it can be scary. I mean, I do remember having something like that happen in my 20s and not understanding it and telling the man to go, please, and he did. And then in retrospect, going, oh, that was probably Toth, who I work with now. Yeah, it can be scary. And I think the biggest piece of advice I can say, or the biggest piece is don't be frightened of it. Know that what you're seeing, you might be seeing something for the first time, and it may, yes, of course, it's going to be a bit scary because you've never seen it before and never experienced it, and you don't really know what it is. Uh, And what I would say is, um, trust your gut feeling, your intuition about it. Now, I know that's another subject that we can talk about is intuition and gut feelings. But if you have access to that and you feel comfortable with it, then trust that. If it's just take a moment, breathe, know that 90% of things that you see are actually there to support you and help you and come in the vibration of goodness and love and light. Yeah.
Now I have to start, if I may, to ask the first a little bit more tough question, so to say. I'm a little bit, the first half of the podcast, I'm a little bit poking you, and then I will be more quiet. I asked the same question today already once, so I'm asking it the second time
Mhm.
today. Do you, to the best of your knowledge, do you think that those things are created through our subconscious, through our inner doings? This is part of our own inner connecting with the inner spirits or whatever structure people tell me that they think this works. So basically, like dream experts and things like that go from that path. Conscious dreaming, they call it. All the others who say no, these spirits are real. They're all around us. They're good spirits, they're bad spirits, they are real, and they can guide us. They can suck our energy if they're connecting to our aura, whatever. So there's a real world around us that's not visible to most of us, but it's very real, and it has its own mechanism, structures, and logic, and rules and regulations.
What a wonderful question. I have a very strong psychotherapy background, and I've been surrounded by psychotherapists, really intense psychotherapists for most of my life. Um, so I know that paradigm of reality very well. And um, I actually think it has so much value. I really respect and love that paradigm of reality. We will work with our dreams, and our dreams are a reflection of our inner world, a reflection of our unconscious, and it's a way to get to know yourself 100%. And in my experience, there is also realms of consciousness that are what I call higher realms of consciousness that exist, that are real, tangible, and have. So when people talk about, oh, the room goes cold, that for me is the experience of the higher planes or the realms of consciousness that we don't physically see with our eyes, that we are beginning to be able to sense and tune into through other senses. And some people do see it with their eyes. And yeah, for me, it is my experience of both
Oh,
those realms is they both are value and they both exist. The answer?
sure. Now I have to ask you. Okay, we're moving on. You're almost done. It is very important, and you also would agree with most people who have told me that there's good energy structures or who want to guide us, help us, support us, give us light, and that there are, they're calling it lost souls. It's a word I can survive with. Do you also see that there is certain manifestations of energy, or you do not see this at
No,
all?
I do see it. I do see it. There is definitely light and dark. Um, I've experienced light and dark. I've experienced it in my own life, and I see it in clients. Um, And that's why
I understood, but I have to ask you, so sorry that
yeah,
I'm
no.
poking
No, no,
you.
no.
So do you also agree, because I'm okay with actually all of this quite well, fine by me.
Mm.
Where I start to really have a problem, do you really think that these former human souls who have not transferred into light got stuck somewhere in transition, or you see this as an entirely different world on its own
Oh,
that's not necessarily human connected?
that's an interesting question. I don't deal with that well very much. I did when I was younger. I was often sending souls, but now I don't really do that. I don't, it doesn't enter into what I do. So if I think about your question in terms of a question and what the information field is around that, I'm just going to tune in because I really don't. My belief system, my sense is yes, there are individuals who don't transition well, either because of accidents or because they don't want to, or there's some reason, and then they get stuck on the earth plane, or they get stuck in a kind of in between zone. And angels, and we see when we invite Archangel Michael, the angels in to help transition them out, and sometimes they get attached to individuals, and they through the process of attaching to individuals, they can create havoc if they're not a great person, not a great spirit, or they can just be an energy drain. So when I tune in a little bit to my guides or to Toth in particular, what he's saying is that there's a way in which these souls have chosen not to fully transition. And there can be many reasons they've chosen not to fully transition. However, the vibration of love is what they're really looking for. They may not realize it's what they're looking for, but it's that vibration of love. So if you encounter one, or if you encounter one, it's that vibration of love that will support them to move on. Now, it can be very challenging for individuals on the earth state if you do happen to see one, because some of the natural feelings that arise can be ones of fear. So that's when it gets that's when they get drawn into you, is because your vibration of fear draws them to you. So if you do happen to see a spirit that doesn't feel like it's of the light, may actually just look like a person, like a real, then open your heart, send them love, and invite the angels to come and support them to move on to the light. But it's very sad that and Toth is saying it's very sad that those individuals have chosen to stay for whatever reason they've chosen to stay. But their soul journey really is to go to the light. You could think of it,
I
yeah.
Yeah, I heard this several times. And so you also saw that some of these spirits, those negative spirits, cling to people or somehow almost suck onto people's auras or energy fields and try to nurture from them. Have you seen this manifestation?
Yeah, no, I've seen it and I've worked with it. I mean, there are a number of keys. The reason I only do it if it comes up. If I'm working with someone and it comes up and it's part of what's required, then we'll work with it and shift it and clear it. So I have seen that where it's really been required. So they might have been with those spirits might have been with us for a very long time. The one thing I would caution people is not to get obsessed by it, not to get worried about it, because I think it feeds a paradigm of consciousness that we're moving away from. Because in essence, as you raise your vibration, or as you come more from the place of love and light, or more from your true self, you're not going to encounter it because they just won't see you. Yeah. So that's more where I hit. There's more around, okay, let's work with you to help you be who you truly are. And that stuff is just it's just not gonna be in your field. It's not gonna come.
So,
Yeah.
so the good news is for everybody listening, because this is now like the fifth conversation I had in the last couple of weeks, and there's one clear alliance with everyone. Don't be scared. That's the number one thing I'm taking from like really the fifth conversation with people who are working with these things. Some are published, some are not published. It is always the same thing. Don't be scared. Don't worry. There's nothing crazy like Hollywood movie like going to happen. Either when you first time getting in the good spirits in contact, if you accept their guidance, if you accept their knowledge, don't be scared. And if you see dark spirits, as you said, just give them love, give them some kindness, because they are actually hurting, they're troubling, they are in a bad place themselves. So this is the message number one, which now I think are you with me in this message?
Yeah.
Do you support it?
100%.
Thank
100%.
you. So that's a very good place to start. To now, finally, my inquisition is over. Now we have time for you and your work and your personal experience, the stuff that you do. Can you maybe now at this point start a little bit explaining to people, what do you do? What services do you, what, how do you heal people? How you help them? What is the work that you do?
Very good. I think they started on that right at the beginning. The work I do is I have the way in which I work. Well, it's such a big question. The work I do is I channel. Sometimes that looks like,
Now, I know we did it at the beginning, but now people will understand with different ears. You hear something one time, but you don't know where to put it. And now we had this conversation. And if you tell them again, now the consciousness has shifted and they will listen to you with a much different awareness of what you actually do. This is the same. Can I tell you a little story? When you don't know anything and you listen to a great classic piano player, oh yes, it sounds nice, it's great. He plays the piano, it's beautiful, you can enjoy it. But then when you try to learn piano for yourself and you practice and you realize, dear Lord, that is hard. And you're just playing basically this most simple of melody and it hardly breaks your mind. You then go to a concert and then you listen to a great pianist and you say, dear Lord, is that hard? So that's why I thought, if you one more time tell us what you do, we have a different conscious understanding what you
oh,
do.
yeah, no,
But we don't have to go to.
I agree totally. I think people, you often need to hear things a few times to be able to understand, particularly if you're new to something. It's the essential through line. I do that in a number of different ways. Some of it looks like healing, some of it looks like activations. Activations are where we activate in ourselves parts of ourselves that have gone dormant. And it's in that we then, you can then start to find aspects of yourself that, or gifts of yourself that you didn't realize or you hadn't access to. Part of that process, if you're really into this work and kind of, I've already got a handle on some of it, is we do connect you to your cosmic realms and your divine realms. And I do that in co-creation with many beings of light. I also am using a lot of the background that I come from, a lot of the psychotherapy work that I've done. Yeah. And it is very structured. So I create very structured, energetic and containers working either in groups or one-on-one in order to do that. So that's, I think, a little bit where I'm a little different, is that I have a lot of activations that we work with, as well as just straight, more healing type work. Yeah. And what I'm also doing as I'm speaking at the moment is I'm inviting some of the energy that I work with to come through. It's coming through really gently. So you might notice it, you might not. And that's 100% like fantastic and fine. But I'm doing that because what I actually also sense is it's often easier to get an understanding of what I might do or what someone else might offer, is to have some form of experience of it. And so what I'm doing is I'm just allowing some of the energy to come through so you get a little bit of an experience from it. And then the other thing that might be really beautiful is I've just before this podcast, I was recording something on love, on that vibration of love. So I'll just allow some of that vibration to come through, because love is the basis to all this work. It's through love that we then are willing to look at ourselves and find our own truth and who we are. And for those of you who know light language, I use quite a lot of light language in my work. I don't think, it just depends where you're at. So I don't think I'll bring it through in this recording right now. There you go. So what's happening now is we've just got a very gentle vibration of love coming in for each of you to receive, if it feels aligned for you to receive. And I don't know, I don't know how you do this, but yeah, there we go. Do you want me to say as that's coming through, do you want me to name how people could get in contact with me?
That will be then the next step, that we really now come closer to you. We understood now what's all around you. And I thought that to bring this podcast now inside of you as a next step after we leave the world and we're going deep inside, and you can tell us about the connection and the personal feelings you have with these entities and what they personally mean to you, how they make you grow, how they heal you, the love as you talk about. I really would like to really know how it feels to have this connection and what it gives to you in your daily life, how it manifests,
Yeah, sure.
if that's all right.
Sure. So for me, the beings of light that I work with are very loving. For me, when I channel, so when I'm bringing through the light that they have and the love that they have, it runs through my system as well as coming in. So it comes, I receive as you receive. When I'm channeling, when I'm speaking their words, that vibration of love, the vibration that they carry runs through me. And so it's extraordinarily nurturing, extraordinarily energizing. It's very enlightening. So it's awakening me. And I have a very deep, loving connection with Toth. We just use Toth as the name that we will, one of the beings of light that I work with. There is a way in which what starts to happen is that the Tothian aspects of myself start to awaken, so that even when I'm not channeling, I can spit like, so Toth, one of Toth's kind of signature energies is he's the holder of the Akashic records, the holder of infinite knowledge. And so when I'm saying I'm not channeling and I'm more in what I could call my day-to-day life, the wisdom of Toth has been activated within me. That aspect of me has come alive. So I naturally speak with love and wisdom more way. And that yeah, it's just something that I carry naturally. I always did, but it just has been awoken and developed so much more with that channeling.
And I heard from one person saying, which impressed me a lot, that this experience took him away the fear of death
Mm.
and gave him a certain peace. Does it bring you peace or certainty, knowing that there are entities out there? Did it make you more secure as a person?
No. I know that's a very blunt kind of answer. It makes sense that it would. I think I lost my fear of death before I really started channeling. I've never really been frightened of dying. I mean, I have a natural fear. Like I don't want
It was,
to stand on the edge of a cliff and jump. I'm not going to do that. But yeah, yeah, and yeah.
but did it make you more whole as a person? Do you feel more whole as a person having this relationship? As I said, it gives you divine energy, expiring energy. So it must manifest. You must feel more,
Oh yeah.
I don't know, more secure, more safe.
Okay. This is such an amazing question. Um, it's complex. Like it's a complex answer. Does it make me feel more safe? I guess it does. I don't think safety has, how do I put it? Okay. It's always like, I don't want to be controversial.
You will never talk to me again. That's for sure.
So my sense of safety comes from my sense of the degree in which I know myself, the degree in which I have a relationship with my own self. That's where my safety comes from. Toth, so channeling beings of light, have increased that because they've activated greater depths of understanding about myself. And then there's the piece where you're talking about it, is as I get to know that there is this extraordinary world out there, yes, I guess it does increase that sense of security and safety. I guess it does. Yeah. I would say, yeah. And then the other piece to that I think is interesting is that I've always been really reasonably good at manifesting things. But now life is uh, I actually believe that synchronicity is natural. It's just meant to be. That's how life is meant to live. But now it's like every moment of my day, I'm just like, wow, okay, that was synchronistic. That happened. It's so much less effort. It's so easy to live because things line up so easily. as long as I'm listening and following my path and being willing to take the next step, it's like life, the next thing unfolds and the next thing unfolds. And I'm not saying life's perfect or that any of that. I'm not challenged in some way or other. I don't have things that I deal with in my everyday life. But I'm saying that magic really is a big part of my life. And so I think that creates a sense of trust that things will unfold, that which unfolds is perfect and things will continue to unfold in a really beautiful way. And if they don't, if it's something that isn't preferred, that I wish I'd rather not have had. Someone threw a rock through my back window of my car, and then it took 3 weeks for the window to come out. So that's an unpreferred event. But when I looked at it and I looked at the bigger picture of it, I realized that it gave me there were a whole lot of things that came out of me not being able to drive my car for 3 weeks. It's that. I think that starts to develop.
I hear a lot that when people are, or I understand the little that I understand about my work, the more you're in tune with yourself, the more tasteful life becomes. When you have that constant feedback from inside, it's almost like you eat food without salt, without spices. And once you are in tune with yourself, things start to taste better. Maybe that's something that we all can agree on.
Yeah.
That's by the end of the day why we do holistic work or spiritual work, to just live more and more intensively. I think that's what you're describing to me.
I think
There's one last thing that, yeah,
Yeah, no,
go
I
ahead.
think so. And I think
Sorry.
the other aspect of that is as we tune into these higher planes of consciousness that we do reside in, not just light beings of light, we reside in them. It gives us a breadth and a depth and it shifts our perspective. So we start to see things with such a bigger perspective. And then the little things that we thought were really important, they're not. They become not. That's, yeah, like death. Death is just a thing that happens.
One other thing that impressed me a lot, I hearing over and over again, and that I understand from my personal work a lot,
Mm.
they say the more insight you get, or the more connection you get, it is required to learn humbleness. Would you comment on that?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah, it is. It's really important. It's so,
Because and that we're all seen right now, including you and the whole universe in my knowledge. So here I am. But we're all seen that when people start to develop these qualities, yours are of course amazing, that there is uh, as you said about the coin, there is a character test, right? When you get some kind of superpowers, that you choose to use them for good or for your personal gain. So that element of humbleness is a crucial element, and most probably you and me would like to. And again, I'm speaking for you. How great! But I think we would like to we would like that the more humbleness is also linked with more insight, so that there is like a path. The more you get something, you respond in humbleness and kindness and giving and loving, and you will receive more. While you and me would hope that if you get something and use it as a tool or as something that to gain richness and things like that, that this is where you get less from it. Would you like to comment on this presumptuous me?
yeah, no, I think it's really beautiful. I think humility is really key. It's really important. And the piece that I felt that you were alluding to, but not quite saying, is really to hold on to something. I think it's about flowing. I think it's about allowing things to flow through. So that as we get these gifts, as we get this ability and it gets more and more switched on, it's then about allowing, it's then about sharing it. It's about contributing. It's about having this flow. And then I also think about that with money as we receive financial wealth or finance money. Money's meant to flow. It's not meant to be held onto. And yes, of course, sometimes we do need savings or we need it. It's not that we spend everything, but it's having that concept that nothing is really ours, so to speak. And in that process, it then flows through us. And where we can get stuck, or where the humility piece is really important, it is that we do have an egoic self. And I don't like to talk lots about it because I think we've talked that to death, really. But we do have that egoic self, or that personality self that might want to hold on. And it's just training it. It's just training it to relax and know that it's safe. It's okay. It has a role. It has a job. It's really important. And that just allowing things to flow through. And that as we get more and more attuned to mastery of this, then our gifts do grow and then we keep contributing. And personally, I find it an extraordinary, beautiful journey, that one.
I'm not going to go there with you. I'm just have to make it so for academic purposes.
Right.
Of course, there is unfortunately the chance to use this kind of a gift in a negative way or
Right.
in a manipulative way. Unfortunately, there is not only light, as we said, there's darkness as well. And some people calling on the other side, unfortunately. So that's a little bit the downside of all of it, but that's not luckily our podcast today. It isn't a bad podcast. I also have to have from time to time talking about darkness and why people are drawn to it.
Mhm.
But luckily, this is about love and giving vibrations and so on. But the last thing I bother you before we really come to an end and see if you have some messages or some connection, or maybe we're lucky to see you a little bit in your work. The last question is, how I'm very childish, very primitive. And now let's really go on the level of 6-year-old, 10 years old. From your knowledge, from your experience, from your day-to-day experiences that you have. I know you're just walking high street, just, I don't know, with your shopping bag and groceries.
Mhm.
And you just sometimes just look at people around. Would you like to shake them up and say, hey, there is something out there? Or I'm so sad that you don't see what I see. Just give us a message.
Sure. Okay. So, yeah, I do feel that. I do feel a great sadness when I see people who, what I just say, aren't awake. Yeah, I do. Sometimes I don't understand. Sometimes a part of me, like the human, like actually, this is more the human part of me that says, I don't understand. I really don't understand. And then, yeah, I feel a great sadness. And I think that's partly what is in part what has brought me to my work always is wanting to give people the ability to awaken up, to find themselves. And I've chosen to do it
Yes.
this way.
I'm with you 100%. It's walking through the people closed, boxed in, nurturing their inner holes, their inner traumas, whatever the language we may use. And they're almost blind going through the world. And there's a whole world above, like a ceiling opens up from your personal daily experiences with loving great entities. And of course, it must sometimes must feel like you're standing on a big skyscraper and looking down, and it's not like looking down in terms of negative, but just seeing that people are so disconnected, so lost. This must, from your vantage point, feel maybe even stronger than I sometimes feel it. And you want to shake people and love and open and share and communicate.
Mm. Yeah,
That's what we need.
yeah, no, that's true. There is another piece to that though. And that piece is I love people. I really genuinely, it took me a long time to really admit this, but I really genuinely love people. I love animals too. Um, and I think one of the ways through that for me has in my day-to-day life is I connect with people. I say hi, I smile, I have conversations like with people, like people I may not know. I just if it's the right thing, yeah, I won't even yeah. I've had some lots of things happen as well because of it. But and I think that for me is the way that I work with that. And I think why I'm saying that is I think one of the kind of gifts that we have as we become more and more awoken is not staying on top of the tower. It's actually like it's going into life and it's interacting with people where they're at in life and doing the things that we love to do that might just be ordinary life, like going to the movies, going whatever it is. Yeah, and in that way, we start to engage with many types of people and many as we can. Obviously, we're not going to. There are some that I'm not going to engage with because I just don't have to go there. But yeah, so that's the piece that I would just bring in here too.
Traps as I could, and you didn't step on a single one of them. I did my very
Oh,
best.
well done.
And I'm with you. I'm in love with the humanity. I love it for all of its good and its bad and its juiciness. And I'm just obsessively in love in mankind. I think we're so crazy great. And I do the same, what I do from the same feeling as you have, the love for the people. And I want to be with them as ordinary as possible, as simple as possible. And that's how things can actually move and change. And I'm with you 100% on that. I'm on no tower, as are you.
Thank you.
If you feel like with the end of this podcast, if you all want to channel a message, if you feel there's something, you're open, the podcast is open to you, if not, as well as is. But I think I said to you in our pre-recording, if this is appropriate, this is a time where a lot of people look in the world of uncertainty. There's already so much fear out there, fear, and if it's done on purpose, if it's real, but we all know it's bad and it's created, and fear is everywhere. And so, if you can give us a personal message or a divine message to people with fear, whatever it is, I would very much appreciate anything that you have to say on fear in the world. And
Yeah, I did know this question was coming, and interestingly, I didn't meditate on it, which I find personally interesting. So I'm gonna let Choth come through, or actually whatever council of light. This is a little bit of my work. So I will speak a little bit of light language, and light language is simply sacred geometry. It sounds like a foreign language. It's just energy. It's energy. Tina atitia rana ta ashika akilitia. It just supports my system to bring Topan. My dears, we've heard this conversation, we've been part of this conversation, and it's with much delight that we are able to step forward and be with you today. Catherine, our divine guide, has invited us in to encourage, to speak about love and light. And the question that we are addressing is fear in the world. We know that the world can feel or seem like a very frightening place, particularly with the upheaval that's happening at the moment. This is not something we speak about often. It's not something that we work with directly with Catherine. So this is new to her to be channeling information on this level, on this plane. What we'd say is that what's happening in the world at the moment, the turmoil that you are seeing, that you are that you are seeing on the Earth star is divinely aligned. It is divinely attuned. Yes, it is not pleasant. It is traumatic for many individuals. It is what has been written, so to speak, in writings that this time will come. And this time that is coming, this time that is happening at the moment, it is like seeing the underbelly. It is like seeing the darkness come into the light. And in order for anything to be cleaned up, you need to see the darkness. You need to see the grit. You need to see what is underneath. It's like lifting the rug and sweeping underneath the rug. So this is the place that the Earth star is in now. We are noticing that the Earth star is unveiling that which has been hidden, that which can no longer be hidden, that which needs to be seen. And so, although it might seem frightening, although it is frightening for many of you, what we'd encourage you is what has been spoken about in this podcast is to bring on that vibration of love, to know that you are deeply loved, to know that that this is on track, that this is divinely orchestrated, and that it is meant to be, and that the best piece of the best piece of information that we can give you is to tune into that vibration of love, to know that you are safe, to know that you are secure, and to know that whatever you are doing to support yourself in this lifetime, to support yourself to be nourished, to support yourself to come into alignment with your divinity, will support you, star. It will support those individuals who are going through what they're going through, and it will support the planet to come into the golden age, to come into that place of light and love. So the essence is to nurture and nourish yourself. And if you are called, if it is part of your soul path and you are called to contribute at some level, then do so. That will feed your soul. But that always starts with that vibration of love. It always starts with nurturing yourself. It always starts with loving yourself. And any fear that you have, part of the reason we're saying this is to allay some of the fears, because unfortunately what fear does is it feeds what we call the timelines that you really don't, that you're not working towards, that you're not really wanting to see manifest on the Earth star. Fear is a vibration that 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 doesn't really support the development of you as a divine being, and it doesn't really support the Earth star into evolving into this extraordinary state of being that she's really working towards. So, although it can seem frightening, we'd encourage you to just reassure yourself that this is divinely orchestrated. You can do something if it's aligned. And most important, love yourself, nurture yourself, come to look at yourself, and come to understand where this fear is arising in you. What is it that you're really frightened of? Are you frightened of being abandoned? Are you frightened of being alone? Are you frightened of losing loved ones? What is this fear that is actually being triggered in you? And work with that, because that will support you and it will support your stuff. So, with much love and grace and gratitude, we complete the short message. Tina te itata akanitia, ashanata akanitia. Know that you are loved. Tia shanata akanitia. Tia shanata akan. Know that you have. Tia shikaka, a place on this Insta. These should be deeply protected. Repeat. Complete.
Thank you so very much. And I wish this message will hear everyone in this world, in their hearts, in their souls. And I hope this will be our New Year podcast. And with this, I wish everyone a happy, positive, unfrightful New Year. And thank you so much for opening the higher spirits to create us into this new experience. Thank you so very much for coming.
An absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on your podcast.